some footballers going through an amazing time in their career where they're winning trophies, scoring loads of goals and stuff like that, they'll still have self-doubt in the brain thinking, next game, can I do it? I've scored a goal against Wolves. Can I score the next goal? That was my first goal in the Premier League. And then I was like, yeah, I'm delighted, but can I get another? And that self-doubt comes in. Then you start thinking, no, if you do everything properly and take it step by step, yeah, of course I can.
So that reminds me of the interview we did with Dan Carter, the New Zealand legendary rugby player. And one of the things he said was that the first cap he got for New Zealand was actually, he set himself the target of, I want 100 of these caps. I don't just want to be a one-cap wonder.
Yeah.
So he became like an inveterate note-taker, where he'd constantly be writing down to-do lists and what he needed to do to become a great All Black player. What do you do to combat the self-doubt and use it as a fuel rather than as a break?
I've always had some notes that I've taken. It'll just be taken from little bits of, a manager might say this to you, or he might relay some information about, right, you've not tracked your runner in this game, and like, I feel like you're not quite yourself. So I'd always write down and then think, do you know what, he's right. And then it's always there as a reminder, so as you never forget stuff like that. And then you end up building up a thing throughout your career and your football of things that are the non-negotiables for yourself. Like, what defines me as a football player, and I have to do them every single game.
What defines you as a football player that you have to do every single game?
My mentality, how I approach the game. Like, if I was ever going into a game and I was a little bit soft, and that's not me, and I want to be one of the ones who has the biggest output in the game, I want to be able to score goals. So they're the things that I'm hoping that in the future can make me more of a, in my own mind, I don't need anyone else's appreciation or approval. It's just more for me. Like, they're the non-negotiables that I want to have in my career for the rest of my career.
Let's talk then about other people's opinions, because I think it's a really important thing to discuss when we're talking about self-doubt and self-confidence. There was an incident this season where it went all over the socials, as these things do, and people were questioning the attitude or the application in that moment. What does that do for you? Is it painful? Is it inspiring?
Nah, it's hard. If someone's questioning that about me, I don't like it, and I don't want it to happen again. Whereas if they're saying opinions about other things, like, oh, he's not very good, or he doesn't do this, or he doesn't do that, that's fine. That's all opinions, and you can take that with a pinch of salt. The only people that matter is the manager and your family and your teammates, in my opinion. Whenever you first get into the first team, it's hard for young players because they're going into the spotlight of thousands and millions of people judging them, and every single thing that you do is on the pitch is scrutinised and analysed and stuff like that. But there becomes a time where you get normal with it, and it's just part and parcel of being a professional footballer at a huge club.
You had that incident recently where you played at Fulham and you had the banner saying "Play like you mean it," and you were asked about it afterwards, and you said that we did spot it, we did speak about it in the dressing room. Like, what was your interpretation of hearing the fans make that sort of caustic remark?
They're right. Play like you mean it, and that's literally the only thing that you can take from that message. Is that's what they want to see, and that's what we're going to try and do.
We're lucky enough to sit down with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he was in charge at United, and we spoke about a concept that we often refer to on the podcast, Scott, around cultural architects. These are like your leaders in the dressing room that just set the standards. And he told us that you were one of his when he first came into the club, somebody that was setting high standards. You were first there, last out. You were constantly committed, like you've described. And I'm interested, how do you maintain that when you see in the club signing players in your position? So you see in Casemiro, Bruno, Mason Mount, all coming in to compete with you for a midfield slot. I'm interested in how you process that and how it affects your training and your preparation.
They're all amazing players, and whenever the club bring amazing football players in, like they've done ever since Man United's been created, you have to show yourself, and you have to do your best to show that you're capable of having a spot in the team, and it's nothing to do with any of the other players. We all want the same goal, and that's the team to be successful. So whether they bring in anyone, really, you want the team to do well, and obviously you want to be a part of that. So for me, that's probably part of the reason why, if anyone would ever say like, oh, he's busy and he likes to work on it, it's not, because I actually enjoy it. Like, I'm not doing it to be busy, and I'm not doing it to be the one who's Mr. Goody Two Shoes, because I'm not. that's just not who I am. People get really misled with that. And I just want to be the one who does it for himself. I don't need to prove it to you or you. I want to do it for myself, and I don't want anyone else to be questioning what I do. And that's it. And just as long as I'm ready to play on the weekend, that's all that matters to me.
See, that's a really interesting term about being busy, because it's like, it often feels like a really horrible insult that you hear within the football world. So do you hear that in the background of, Scott's being busy here?
No, not now. Like, it was more whenever I was in the reserves. I had that a lot. And I was fine. I was just like, well, you do what you want to do and I'll do what I want to do. You don't play in the first team unless you do end up having that obsession of your craft.
There's a very obvious moment there that you can either rein it in a little bit to fit in with the group and be popular and not have somebody on your case, or you can just decide, actually, I'm going after my own ambitions here and you're irrelevant. What you say is irrelevant. But for a lot of young people, the desire to fit in, to be part of the pack, is often more powerful than the desire to stand out. So tell us how you learnt to do that.
It's more, you don't get it with lads in the first team because they're all at it and they all want to play in the team, and they're all so close to being like in the first team playing every single game. So like, you don't really get that. It's more the reserves, the under 16s, under 14s, where you might get lads who are having themselves a little bit and giving it the big one, like, oh, you're busy and stuff like that. It's like, well, yeah, well, you be like the way you want to be and I'll be the way that I want to be. Do you know what I mean? It's some lads just take it so way too far in terms of like how laid back I am, look how cool I am and stuff like that. No one cares. Like, I actually never cared once about stuff like that whenever lads were trying out like that. And I always had it in my head, my goal is to be in that first team and I want to play. And that was it.
So now that you sit here now, 26?
Yeah, 26, yeah.
Why do you think you ended up making it all the way to the first team and staying in the first team at Man United?
A lot of luck. Just being honest, there was a lot of luck involved, like in terms of the way that you get your chance and the opportunity that arose and how you take it as well. There was fortune in there, and then to hopefully stay in the first team for many years to come is just about your mindset and the dedication towards what you want to do and what you want to achieve in football. And that's been the biggest motivator for me in terms of seeing how well Man City have played over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I want my football club to be back to them levels.
But I think that's even a really sort of powerful admission, that you can look at your biggest, closest rivals and be like inspired by that rather than derailed by that, to want to be at that level.
Yeah, credit to them. They've been amazing over the last however many years it's been. And that has to be our sole focus for the trophies that they've won. We want that.
Does it hurt as well, though, watching them lift all the trophies? Yeah.
Big time. But then that's your motivation.